This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Shaun Cole, but the real star of today's show is the Next Level Racing gttrack sim racing chassis. The gttrack is a complete sim rig built for sim racers demanding the most out of their equipment. The gttrack is built from steel and has many features that make it one of the top choices for sim racers. The Next Level Racing gttrack, well, it's a GT driving position or style chassis, and it's built to work with all of the common gear from Logitech, Thrustmaster, and Fanatec. All their wheels, all their pedals, all their shifters, handbrakes, all those peripherals, and it's even intended to work with direct drive steering wheels. Now, Next Level Racing, they're not new to the game. They've been around for over 10 years and make a variety of different models of sim chassis, wheel stands, and even motion platforms to choose from. The gttrack is perhaps their most hardcore model, and it is packed full of features, making it an ideal sim rig. The gttrack goes for a suggested $899, and that includes many extras included in that price. At $899, it makes it the most expensive chassis from Next Level Racing, but it's also the most hardcore both in its design and construction. It is a highly adjustable rig that can accommodate drivers from only 4 feet all the way up to 6 foot 9 inches tall. And the extras that it comes with are the type of extras that many companies would charge you extra just for those extra components, but they are included at that $899 price, but we'll cover all that. So let's go ahead and take a little more detailed look at the Next Level Racing gttrack sim racing chassis and its many features. As mentioned, the gttrack is a GT-style driving position sim chassis that includes just about everything you could need to hold all of your gear. Its base is made up of box steel tubing with a matte powder-coated finish to it in a grayish-black color. The tubes are a combination of bolt-together and welded-together pieces to form a very strong-looking design. There are holes drilled through various tubes to allow for the many adjustments available on the gttrack chassis. The wheel deck is a large deck that is pre-drilled for the major sim wheels on the market from Logitech, Thrustmaster, Fanatec, and even a few of the high-end direct drive wheels as well. The wheel deck is adjustable up and down and also in angle. The Petal Tray is also pre-drilled for all the major components and is adjustable in front to back distance as well as angled just like the wheel deck. Sitting on top of the base is a reclinable seat that is also adjustable front to back and is well padded for comfort. The seat has a fairly wide width to it and has sides to keep you well placed in the middle. The covering on the seat is a pleather or vinyl and has a nice combination of smooth sides and back and a perforated middle for styling. There's also a nice Next Level Racing logo embroidered into the headrest on the front, and on the back there is a gttrack logo embroidered into the middle as well. Also included with the gttrack sim chassis is an adjustable shifter that can be mounted on both the left or right side that will work with all of the common shifters on the market, including dual Thrustmaster shifter and handbrake for the rally car style of a shifter and sequential side by side. The gttrack also includes 8 adjustable feet for sure footing or the optional locking casters for those who like to move their rigs around a lot. And for those who love the added realism of belting yourself into a sim rig, the gttrack also comes with seat belts to fulfill that need. And if that wasn't enough, the gttrack also has a butt kicker adapter for the ever popular gamer model. In addition to all of those features, the Next Level Racing gttrack is also compatible with their motion platform, bolts right into this in less than 10 minutes. Now, one of my favorite parts about building sim rigs or getting sim rigs for review, absolutely one of my favorite parts, hands down, is getting to build them. I love building things. Now, when you think of IKEA, you think of sucky instructions, missing or hard to figure out parts, or even missing pieces. And I have to give Next Level credit. Their stuff comes so nicely packed, their instructions are brilliant, their parts are blister packed, and you come with an abundance of parts so you're never looking for that one more piece to complete the rig. The assembly was pretty straightforward, and I begun by laying all of the parts out to acquaint myself with them and to make it easier to find them when needed. We start by building the front section of the rig. It's 2 pieces per side. The rig comes with the tools needed to attach and tighten the hardware, and this is also made easier by the nuts having bite or grip to help tighten down with a single Allen wrench in some cases. We then build up the back section of the rig by adding the parallelogram-shaped side pieces to the front. When tightened down, there are plastic caps that hide the interior hardware. And then we add the rear cross brace that completes the main structure of the rig. From there, we move on to the upright section of the rig that supports the wheel deck. There's one for each side that slides into the front triangle in a vertical direction, and then each one locks down with 2 bolts into the lockdown holes. The wheel deck then extends between the uprights and locks down in a variety of holes to adjust the angle of the deck. And then that takes us to the pedal tray that can be mounted in various holes running along the front bottom rails of the rig. It starts with a cross brace that can be installed at various angles, and then the actual pedal tray bolts down to that. The shifter mount is made up of 2 pieces and again can be mounted on the left or right side of the rig. The top part attaches with 2 bolts, and then the entire mount bolts to the chassis with 3 additional bolts with locking washers. The seat comes with its mounting hardware attached and can then just be lowered into place and then attached to the rig with 4 bolts. The Next Level Racing gttrack also comes with a choice of adjustable leveling feet or locking caster wheels. The rig takes a total of 8 feet or wheels, and they go into threaded mounts into the bottom side of the chassis. There's also a butt kicker mount that can be attached under the seat with 2 more bolts, and then finally, the optional seat belts if desired. It didn't take long at all to actually get the rig built. It was very straightforward, pretty darn simple, and everything went very smoothly. And then comes installing my gear. Now, after I install my gear, I'm still gonna wanna go back and readjust everything, get it tailored just for me. I'm also gonna wanna go back and really tighten down all the bolts all throughout the rig, because I kinda did it loosely, knowing I was still gonna make adjustments. Now, when it came to installing hardware, this also went very smoothly as well. I was gonna be mounting my Experience AccuForce steering wheel, and the rig was pre-drilled for the wheelbase's pattern. 4 bolts later, and it was solidly mounted. From there, I moved on to the pedals, and I was installing my Ricmotech Real Gear Pro pedals, and with their hydraulic brake, it's going to test this pedal mount to its limit. The pedal tray was also pre-drilled for my pedals, and 4 bolts later, they were mounted. So lately I've also been using an SHH shifter, so I want to mount that to the rig since it comes with a shifter mount as well. It's pre-drilled. What do you know? 4 bolts later, the shifter's mounted to the rig as well. 3 for 3, no drills, everything was mounted to the rig. Now, they also talk about that dual Handbrake sequential shifter idea. It comes with an adapter plate. So what do you know? I took the shifter off, mounted it to the plate, mounted the plate to my rig, put the Handbrake on next to it, and 4 for 4. Everything bolted to the rig, no drilling whatsoever. And to finish off the install part nicely, the Next Level Racing gttrack also comes with Velcro self-attaching cable holders. This ties down all your cables and gives the rig a clean, pro-wiring look like you really care about your rig. Now, during the review process, another one of my favorite moments comes after I've installed my rig on a brand new chassis, getting to stand back and get my first real good look at the rig with all of my favorite equipment on it. And then comes the fun part, getting it all dialed in for me, sitting down in that rig, assessing where I need that wheel, where I need those pedals, where I need that shifter to be, and making all those fine adjustments. So let's go ahead and talk about all the adjustments, and there are a lot of adjustments that can be made to the Next Level Racing gttrack sim chassis. So let's talk about dialing it in for me and let you know all the dimensions, what you can do to it for you. Starting off with the wheel deck where I have that AccuForce steering wheel mounted. As it moves up and down for adjustment, it does actually change the length of the rig or the distance from the wheel deck to the seat. So this is a good starting point. And because of that, it is the best place to start when dialing in the Next Level Racing gttrack for yourself. By loosening the 4 bolts securing the uprights, you can move the whole assembly up and down and then lock it down in a series of mounting holes. In total, there's about 7.5 inches or 190 millimeters of adjustment up and down. At the lowest position, the wheel sits furthest from the seat, and at its highest point, it ends up being 6 inches or 150 millimeters close to the seat at that highest point. That may affect where you mount your pedals. In addition to the height adjustment, the angle of the wheel deck is also adjustable into pre-drilled holes that hold it into position. With these holes, we can mount the deck in one of 7 positions, allowing for about 30 degrees of range. The next most logical adjustment would be to get the seat in the proper position now that we've established where a wheel belongs. The seat has an adjustment bar and moves on sliders. On these sliders, the seat can be moved forward and backwards over 8 inches or 205 millimeters. It is also a reclining seat and allows you to change the angle to just about any position desired. The pedal tray is also highly adjustable. The entire assembly can be mounted in different holes along the side rails. This starting position gives you a range of about 10.5 inches or 268 millimeters front to back, depending on which holes you mount into. Each hole, or moving the entire assembly one hole, equals about 1.25 inches or 31.75 millimeters in difference. And much like the wheel deck, the angle of the pedals can also be adjusted by picking different mounting holes on the adjuster. This will give you 6 positions to choose from, and with that, an angle anywhere from flat to about 30 degrees of incline. And then finally, the top deck of the pedal tray can be slid front and back on its mount another 8 inches or 205 millimeters. I use the side rail mounting holes to get it in the ballpark and the sliders for finer adjustments. The last adjustable feature is the shifter mount. There are a series of holes on the upper side rails for different mounting positions front to back. Depending on the holes mounted into, it gives you about 3.5 inches or 89 millimeters of difference front to back. There is no angle or height adjustment for the shifter. In the end, I was able to get all of my equipment on the rig, comfortably mounted with very little compromise, absolutely no drilling. Gotta hand it to him. Well done, Next Level Racing. Now, the overall footprint of the rig are about 54 inches or 138 centimeters long, 47 inches or 120 centimeters tall on the casters, and about 21 inches or 55 centimeters wide without the shifter, or 29 inches and 74 centimeters wide with the shifter. Overall, it weighs about 105 pounds or 48 kilograms, making it a fairly light and easy to move rig, especially on those casters. And with that, it is time to get this rig out on track and see how it really feels. With those adjustments, I was able to get my wheel, my pedals, my shifter, everything where I needed it, get very comfortable with my driving position, comfortable with the seat, and it's ready for hours of driving. But it all starts with getting in and out of the rig, which with the Next Level Racing gttrack is fairly easy. It has plenty of clearance for your legs and feet to swing in under the wheel deck, and the seat itself is well padded and has a little less side extensions than many seats I have used. It makes it easier to get in and out of, and it'll also be great for larger drivers, but at the same time, it was still comfy for me. The reclining feature is also really nice. It's that fine ability to get things perfect, and it can be used to relieve a tightening back on a long race with the slightest of change in angle. The pedal tray for me is best used in the flat position. I find that it is a little bit higher than I would like them to be, and this keeps my legs extended at a flatter angle. The adjustability allowed for a perfect distance, and the tray is pretty stiff under my feet as well. Under the heavy load of braking, in particular with my Ricmotec hydraulic pedal at 100 pounds, you do find a hint of flex. I would say this flex is about the same amount of flex I've seen from most rigs and cannot be felt under my feet. I would say the rigidity is as strong as most rigs, and under the load of a Logitech, a Thrustmaster pedal set, it wouldn't move at all. The flex I witnessed was as much in the pedals as the rig itself. When operating the pedals for extended periods of time, the seat maintained its comfort and support and worked well while driving for good periods of time. The wheel deck allowed for a near perfect position. The height was on the money, but I did find there were only 1 or 2 angled positions that were in my ballpark. I got the angle very close to perfect, and my overall geometry is comfortable and very much in a GT position. The wheel deck was very stable as well. I did my testing with the SimXperience AccuForce wheel, and even under the heaviest of loads, it was wiggle free. While driving hard, I often find myself pulling down or pushing up on my wheel, especially during those oh shit moments. The gttrack maintains its deck angle every time, and that is not something I can say for every rig I have tested. The gttrack was solid, it was stable, and most critically, it maintained all of its adjustments 100% of the time. And like the pedals, the seat to wheel position is in a great position and allows for hours of driving in a position that allows you to both be aggressive and precise with the highest confidence in your rig and gear. The shifter position ends up being a good starting point. In my case, I'm using that SHH shifter, and it's pretty close in measurements to a Logitech. It ends up being in the ballpark, but depending on what shifter or handbrake you are using, it might end up needing some sort of adaptation. It is a solid base, and it gives you a good sized platform to deal with. For this little shifter, I would like a little more height, but with a taller shifter like a Fanatic, it might end up being just perfect. With the handbrake adapter plate, I was also able to mount my monster Ricmotech handbrake. Now the plate didn't allow for the extreme differences that I would need with a drastic handbrake like this one versus a little itty bitty shifter. But even with that, I'm only a couple sticks of profile or some sort of an adapter from making a permanent solution that would solve that problem. The important part is that it accommodated both. However, I will say that with that giant handbrake mounted way off to the side, it did have a bit of flex. In the driving part of my review, factors of comfort, stability, and adjustability are certainly the main factors. But secondary and also important factors are getting in and out of the rig and how it sits on the floor. The gttrack sim chassis is as easy to get in and out of as any rig you're going to find. It's a combination of a nice open area to work with, a nice white platform between the uprights, and also with it being of reasonable height. The gttrack was great in this area, and it only made the driving experience of this rig that much better. The rig was lightweight, and it could easily be moved by myself, and with the caster wheel option, it made it even easier. So at this point, you've heard all about the rig, its price, what it comes with, what it's made out of, the adjustability and how it performed out on track, and even what it took to install or put it all together. Things that I haven't talked about. I gotta tell you, when I got it, I didn't think it would be as rigid as it was. These are very thin-walled tubings, but the way it goes together, the way it bolts together, the geometry they used, the design they used, it was way stronger, way more rigid. And when I consider it's only 100 pounds, I really didn't think it would be up to the load of a direct drive wheel, but it did it no problem, and it was even pre-drilled for mine. But in case there was any confusion about my real thoughts about the rig, if you didn't listen between the lines about what I said when driving or putting it together, let's go ahead and break it down with the good, the not so good, and the bottom line, starting off with the good. Built for almost all modern gear. Highly adjustable wheel deck. Highly adjustable pedal tray. No slip lockdown points. Rigid, very little wiggle or flex. Strong enough for direct drive wheels. Reclining seat. Comfortable seat. Works well for many sizes, including larger drivers. Bonus extras: butt kicker, shifter mounts, belts, wheels. Easy to move, lightweight. Easy to get in and out of. Easy to build. Great instructions, extra hardware. Front triangle could be a wheel stand all on its own. Shifter mount will actually hold a handbrake as well. And now on to the not so good. It only comes in black. Shifter mount could have more adjustment to it. Wheel deck angle could use finer adjustment. Hard to adjust the wheel deck height with heavy wheels installed. No keyboard holder. And the paint shows scuffs and scratches. And now on to the bottom line. Coming in at $900, the Next Level Racing GT Track is appropriately priced for what it is and what it comes for. Granted, it's a simpler design and a rougher finish than some rigs available, but at the same time, it comes with far more included than other rigs do. The box steel design isn't as flashy as some other rigs on the market, but it is highly tailorable, and when there is a slight compromise in fashion, it ends up only increasing its function. The GT Track was as stable as they come. It works with any of the gear on the market that I can think of, and it's tailorable or adjustable for just about any size driver. These are the most important factors in reviewing a sim racing chassis and the areas where the GT Track actually did its best. The Next Level GT Track is also very lightweight, but despite that lightweightness, it was still substantial and sturdy. In some cases, it's going to be a huge bonus because it's easy to move around. And in other cases, it might be a little annoying because every time you get in and out, you'll notice the rig moves just a little bit and you're going to constantly be realigning it to your platform. But lap after lap, hour after hour, the GT Track offered me a comfortable seating position that allowed me to drive all day long. It accepted all of my gear without drilling, was able to adjust to my dimensions, and held strong after everything I threw at it. The rig also came with seat belts, which I did not install into the rig, and to be honest with you, I'm not a real big fan of seat belting myself into a sim racing chassis. That's one level of realism that for the most part, I don't need unless I'm using some form of motion. And with that, I also didn't install my motion platform that I do have by Next Level Racing. So I wanted to do those together, and I'm in a future review will install the motion platform to this chassis with the seatbelt. So that's something you can look forward to in the future, but for this, I wanted to keep it straight 100. 900 for the rig. What do you really get? How does it really work for your average Joe sim racer, somebody considering getting themselves a serious hardcore sim racing chassis? So I hope I've answered all the questions that you could possibly have about the Next Level Racing GT Track. If I did not, of course, go to their website, nextlevelracing.com. You can check out this rig. You can check out all the different models, all the different accessories and things they have, like that motion platform there at their website. And, of course, if you have any questions of me, be sure to email me, Shaun, SHAUN @thesimpit.com, and I will do my best to answer your questions, that's for sure. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, be sure to like this show, do everything you can do to help us grow. Tell a friend about the channel just so we can keep growing and bring you more and more content and better reviews. But that's going to do it for this one. This is The Simpit. I'm Shaun Cole, and I'll see you on the track.